Yeah, welcome back to the M365 show. Today we are diving into one of the biggest debates in that spreadsheet world. Can Google Sheets really beat Microsoft Excel? Joining me is David Benaim, a Microsoft Excel MVP, trainer, content creator, and even a stand-up comedian who proves spreadsheets don't have to be boring. David is known for his weekly tutorials covering Excel, Google Sheets, Power Query, Power BI, and the latest productivity tools helping thousands of professionals working smarter with data. In this episode, we are comparing Excel and Google Sheets feature by feature, exploring how AI is changing the way we work with spreadsheets, discuss Microsoft's latest innovation, and find out whatever Google Sheets is really. I don't in this Google Sheet space. So I'm really, I think I can really learn a lot of new stuff. So yeah, welcome, David. Thank you for being here in the show.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
Yeah, you are. I think this is interesting. You're not only a Microsoft MVP, you are also a stand-up comedian. Can you a little bit tell us why or how you get uh, well, what brings you, I don't know if it's using Excel, but what brings you to stand-up comedian?
So I've always enjoyed entertaining people and presenting. I love presenting. I love PowerPoint almost as much as spreadsheets. And over the years, I have been doing some jokes amongst friends, and then someone I knew was offering a stand-up course, so I thought I'd give it a try. And that went pretty well. And then my second set that I ever wrote, I decided to write about spreadsheets because it's mundane. It's kind of, oh well, I wonder how they can make spreadsheets funny, but also it's something that's so inherent in pretty much everyone's life. If you're an office worker, you are using spreadsheets. You might hate them, you might love them, you might love to hate them. You might be sneakily proud of that formula that you created, and your entire company is running off this macro that you wrote 20 years ago, even though you left the company, and now they need to come back to you to fix it. So I wrote a little bit that was about 5 minutes worth of jokes, and it went badly. But then I wrote again, and it went well, and it went better and better. And then I decided to combine the two. So now I go by the mantle, the Excel comedian, and I have a 1 hour comedy show called Excel Comedy and Matham Antics that has had sold out seasons at the Edinburgh Fringe and Adelaide Fringe festivals, which is the two largest performing arts festivals in the world.
Okay.
And I'm bringing it back to Edinburgh Fringe this summer. Also, going to go to Stockholm and Estonia for a few shows there. So, yeah, if you're interested, come check out the show. I'm super excited to bring this back to Europe.
Yeah, this is really interesting. It's yeah. I never heard before for
You
about it,
better.
but I think yeah, most people are more I don't know more worry when they have to work with Excel. But yeah, it's I think the best what you can do. Have a smile on it. Um, how was your journey into the Excel or the Microsoft world?
It was good. So I became an accountant straight out of university, and my Excel skills there were medium for accountant level, but not as good as you would think. Like, we knew how to use pivot tables, but we didn't really know formulas beyond ifs and sums and averages. So I can do a VLOOKUP, I can do a SUMIF. But then after that, I left to do a volunteering job with an organization called Accounting for International Development, kind of like Doctors Without Borders, but instead of saving lives, we save balance sheets. So they offered me a position for 2 months in a nonprofit based in Cambodia. And I did that, and I helped them with their annual budget. But one of the things that they wanted help with was talking about Excel. So a little bit of teaching Excel, and the people I was showing it to didn't know how to use stuff like filtering or pivot tables. So that I was able to teach. But then they started asking more questions, and so I had to research some stuff to be able to answer them. And over the course of my time there, I had some free time, so I just took a genuine interest in it and started learning it more. And then over the next year, I decided, well, maybe I can start a business in Cambodia because I enjoy living here, talking about accounting systems and software, but also this Excel training might have legs. So I ended up buying a bunch of books and learning pretty much everything there was to know about Excel and Word and PowerPoint and just be an absolute expert in it. And then since then, I have kept up to date with everything. So I am probably the person that keeps the most up to date with the largest array of business software. I have a blog post that I publish once a quarter, which is the most comprehensive what's new in tech as a business professional blog post. So I don't go into the development stuff. I go into what's new inside the apps that I use as a non-tech person. It might be Zoom, it might be Teams, it might be ChatGPT, it might be obviously Excel or Power BI or Google Sheets or Word or Canva, all that stuff, PowerPoint, Microsoft Teams, OneDrive. So I publish that once a quarter, and along the way, I became an MVP 6 years ago in 2020, right as COVID was hitting. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people say Excel is dead. Is it now an undead? Is it still alive? What will you say about Excel?
So people have been saying Excel is dead for the last 20 years,
Yeah.
and if Excel's not dead today, then I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that even in the age of AI, Excel continues to be the place where everyone clicks the export to Excel button from whatever system they're using, from anything that they've had a custom app built. They will still want to be able to play around with the data and type a number in a cell without any restrictions and add that number to whatever it is your report gives, be it be it for a percentage markup or just an adjustment for one specific day. And Excel is the only thing that lets people do that. Every other system is way too restricted. Well, spreadsheets. We are talking about Google Sheets as well. So, yeah, spreadsheets in general allow for that flexibility that I think the office employee is going to want for the very, very foreseeable future. Now, Excel is being changed the way people are using spreadsheets based on AI, but the Excel is dead mantra, absolutely no, not for a very, very long time.
Awesome. Yeah, when we talk about we have this. Yeah, I think Google comes for, I don't know, a few years and bring Google Sheets. Uh, what will you say, or why is Google Sheets get so underestimated?
So, a few reasons. Looking back at history, Excel was the underdog when it first got launched in 1985. Excel is currently 40 years old, celebrated its 40th birthday last September. Before that, it was Lotus 123, and Excel had to prove its place because Lotus 123 was the one that everyone went to. This is before my work lifetime and probably yours as well, but it was what was around a long time ago. And then Excel overtook it because Excel had a better graphical user interface for the most part. That kind of where it came to be, but they took a lot of the same features, including a lot of the problematic features they took from Lotus 123. And then Excel was the only game in town for a while. There was Apple numbers, but that was only for a select few people in the workplace. Apple wasn't really being prominent outside of graphic design and video editing. So Excel continued to be very, very prominent. And Excel did exist for Mac. In fact, Excel 1.0 was actually released on Mac and not on Windows. Windows didn't exist at the time. So fast forward, Google is this up and coming search engine. They start to do a productivity thing. They release Google Docs, which everyone is like, oh, this is nice. I can actually share it with people.
Mm.
And there isn't that much advanced technology in Word and document writing. Well, there is, but most of it is only for a very, very small number of users. And then they released the whole suite, and Google Sheets was not very good. It couldn't do very much. It had a lot of shortcomings. It was very, very limited. But you could share it. You could share it with people anywhere. That was done really, really well. So over time, people ended up using Excel for the workplace for absolutely everything in the workplace, but Google Sheets for anything personal, anything casual, anything you wanted to share with friends, planning a trip, planning a dinner party. You just wanted an easy spreadsheet where people could type in things in rows and columns. Easy to share, doesn't need advanced functionality. Over the years, though, Google Sheets had developed way more functionality and it could do more and more things. And when it first got good, I'd say it was probably around 15 years ago. It started to not only match most of what Excel could do, but even bypass it in certain realms, which is what we'll get to soon, because I think that is really important. And most people are not aware that that is the case. And I am, I am someone that is always open to trying out new software and, and will use the right software for the right job. And so in certain times in my consulting work where I've helped to do some spreadsheet software building, I've recommended Google Sheets because some things it just does better than Excel. And that's something that is important to know. I am probably the person who has published the most comprehensive Excel versus Google Sheets blog post ever. I published this a couple of years ago on LinkedIn. And it goes through all the similarities and most importantly, all the differences because Google Sheets can do many things better than Excel. Excel can do many things better than Google Sheets. There is a Venn diagram, depends what your needs are, which you should go for.
What's on your side? What's the main feature, or what does Google Sheets better than Excel, and what does Excel better than Google Sheets? What's the highlights?
Ooh. That's a big question. We can go through it step by step, I guess. Um, so I would say that when it comes to setting up robust tables, Google Sheets is better.
Mm,
Both of them have a feature called Table, which I think is an awful name for a feature because no one ever looks up how do I create a table in Excel. And from my experience, having done Excel training to over 3,000 people and had over 3 million views on my YouTube channel, people people don't know how to use this feature called a table, which means they're missing out on one of the most important features that Spreadsheets has to offer. Um, However, Google Sheets is slightly better than Excel's, is better for naming conventions, and it also has a group by viewing.
mm,
So, what a lot of people love doing is creating subtotals in
mm,
tables.
mhm.
And this is a bit technical, I guess, but if you do that, then you're going to lead to loads of double counting errors. And this happens in business all the time. As I said, I started my career as an accountant. That was something we always looked out for because it always happens, accidental double counting. Whereas Google Sheets has a feature called Group By, where you can
Mm.
create a group by view that can show you the subtotals for the user, but that data doesn't actually exist anywhere apart from in what you view it. So it's a lot better. That feature only came out about a year and a half. Really, really like it. Um,
Yeah. When when we think about, well, I think I don't know if it's right actually, but the most companies are still using Excel. Uh, when Why they don't switch to Google Sheets when it's better?
so I mean, there's a couple of things at play. Like I don't think Google Sheets is better than Excel.
Mhm.
Um, I think that Excel has Power Query, and Power Query is absolutely game changing. And for that reason, until Google Sheets has an equivalent, I will favor Excel. However, the majority of business users don't use Power Query or
Mm.
Power Pivots, which are only in Excel. Well, I mean, ultimately, a company will do what their company provides. And since everyone is paying for a Microsoft license already, they have Excel. They're not paying for a Google Workspace. But what I found is in smaller organizations in the developing world where I live, I find Google does have more prominence than if I go to corporate London, for example.
Mm,
Many people have never heard of Google Sheets, or they think it's just absolutely awful. They wouldn't even consider it as a competitor. But I think that that's the problem. It's because people don't consider it as a competitor that they don't end up using many of the features that could be available.
mm,
That it's not just Google Sheets. More players are launching spreadsheet applications. So Canva last year launched a spreadsheet application called Canva Sheets,
mm.
and last month in June 2026, Zoom, as in Zoom meetings, launched a spreadsheet as well. So I would say those ones nowhere near comparative with Excel or Google Sheets, but they have their use cases, especially Canva Sheets. Canva Sheets is good if you want to essentially take one design and then create a spreadsheet which can then replicate that same thing, but switching out this picture for another picture, switching out names, switching out other titles or images or something like that. It can work really, really well for that. That's not really what Google Sheets and Excel can do, but Canva will link up its spreadsheet tool with its graphic design tools to make it stronger. And I use it for that quite a bit because I do a lot of graphic design for my comedy stuff. So that's something to bear in mind. So yeah, essentially, I think people are still using Excel because that's what their company pays for the most, and also because they're lazy to learn a new user interface, and they still think the Google Sheets had the capabilities that it had 20 years ago,
Mm.
which is not the case.
This is okay. Um, but the real or the real-time collaboration is still Google's biggest advantage. Is this right? Or is it anymore so?
So Excel will say that they have real time collaboration, and they do, but it's buggy. It crashes a lot. It tells you it doesn't record its changes. Google has never had an issue. Uh, Google, you can use it on the browser and it's completely fine. Yeah, it is very, very strong for that. But Excel on paper does pretty much the same thing and has done for about almost 10 years now, even on Excel desktop. Some people don't realize that, but if you have a file saved on SharePoint or OneDrive, you can have other people edit it in Excel desktop at the same time. But
Mm,
then it doesn't work with people outside your organization. As I said, it crashes a lot. So Google does still do that better. And what one thing I like about Google's approach in general is that it doesn't punish you if you are outside the organization. Me
mhm,
as a consultant who tends to work solo with clients, companies that hire me as an external consultant, I can work in Google's infrastructure and I can get all the same features. But if I try to do that and my client is on Microsoft's infrastructure, I join a Teams call and I can't see the name of the people writing things in the chat. I can't record things. I can't do emoji reactions or vote in the polls sometimes. And I definitely cannot edit a spreadsheet at the same time as that. They have to add me as an external user. It just puts up way more boundaries. Whereas Google is much easier to collaborate with people across multiple organizations. And that is, I think for the better for people like me, my kind of workplace. Yeah.
yeah, let's say Excel and Google are rappers who are excellent, who is Google's sheets.
Sorry, what was that question? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, but when you mention, I don't know, are rappers uh, or sport arts, what will you say? What is what for sport is Excel, and what for kind of sport is Google Sheets.
Sorry, I still didn't hear the
Yeah.
question. What features
Um,
are better or
Yeah,
what's
no,
what?
but when you have in mind that you say, oh, what I don't know how when we compare it in real life, uh,
Yeah.
uh, Excel and Google Sheets. So, but we take something I don't know like sports is it's Google Sheets more basketball and I
No.
don't know Excel more golfing, or how will you compare it?
Oh, okay. So if that's sports, I would say maybe Google Sheets would be more of a team sport. Something like, let's go with Google Sheets is more like synchronized swimming,
Okay.
where you're all kind of going together and working at the same time and collaborating, and what everyone is doing in real time affects the other person. Whereas Excel is maybe more of like a swimming relay race where it works very well as long as there's only one person playing at the same time. Yeah.
And actually, it's a little bit we have these AI topics, um,
And
and we have, I don't know, Copilot for Excel, and we have, a lot of other a lot of AI tools from Google. How did they compare there in yeah, in in staying in the
yeah,
type of
so
AI?
good question. I think when it comes to AI, both Microsoft and Google kind of failed in their first launches.
Mm,
I think that it's pretty well accepted that Copilot kind of sucked. I'm not talking about Copilot today, I'll get to that. But I think that the first implementation of Copilot, where the pricing plans were confusing, where me who had Copilot as pretty much as soon as they came out, I found little to no use for it in spreadsheets. And Google has gone through multiple iterations of what it calls its AI engine. Now it's calling it Gemini. The first one that it launched also came up with issues, and then they had to pull it back and then relaunch it. You had then ChatGPT, and ChatGPT really took the initiative and became the thing that revolutionized AI and that everyone sees as AI today. And then you had Claude, which was a competitor that came in soon afterwards, although earlier this year it became evident that almost all of the techies were like, "Oh, Claude is the way to go. Claude is the one." And then Claude implemented an Excel add-in, and that Excel add-in could just do way more than Excel's Copilot could do. It actually answered the questions. Excel Copilot would tell you, "I can't do that. I can't do that. Oh, you want to change the color of cells? Here's how you can do it." Or, "Oh no, I can't do that action." And it would just give you a lot of incorrect stuff.
yeah, uh,
Then what
uh,
happened? Well, Excel released its Copilot Excel agent, which has now been renamed to Editing Copilot, but that could then rival similar stuff to what Claude could do. And now that is pretty awesome. It's pretty revolutionary. I love doing demos where I showcase how it can do stuff, how it can clean data, how it can do things through formulas, how it can grab data from different things, do en masse data research. For example, you could type out a list of your favorite movies, and then it can look up like what the box office revenue was, who the actors are, what year it was released, things like that. Just en masse data entry. And then Google released something else, released Gemini inside Google Sheets. And earlier this year, they did that. And that has some clear benefits over what all of the others in Excel can do, which I think is completely underlooked. It is behind a paywall. They did give me free access to it for a while. And then I was
mhm.
showcasing it in a webinar and they took away that free access. So about about a day before I was doing the webinar, I realized I had to purchase the software to get it to keep going. But I was showing the webinar about AI and spreadsheets, so it was definitely well worth it. And yeah, it can do some really cool things. So, for example, you've got something called a canvas. This came out a couple of months ago in Google Sheets, and essentially you can use Google Sheets to act as a user interface through various different types of interactive charting.
Mhm.
Things like a Kanban board, which Trello is very commonly known as. So you can have a canvas that has a complete user interface like that, really easy to set up. And then you can drag and drop things, and the background is in a spreadsheet in Google Sheets somewhere. And if you change it in the spreadsheet, it will change in the board, in the Kanban board. If you change it in the Kanban board, it will change in the spreadsheet. You can also have a calendar view. So if you have dates, the canvas can show a calendar view or various other types of data visualization. And another thing that Google Sheets does is smart fill.
Mhm.
Everyone knows that in spreadsheets, on the bottom right, you can drag down a cell and that will bring down a formula or copy down what you have. Google Sheets has, sorry, that's on the bottom right. Google Sheets has added another thing on the bottom left that you can drag down, and that will actually give you context of whatever it is the table is showing. So, for example, in the example I gave earlier about the movies, you could just have a list of the movies, and then you could have a title for box office revenue. You could have a column title for movie release dates, for Rotten Tomatoes score, and then you don't even have to type a formula. You don't have to type a prompt. You can just left click and drag down from the cell, and it will do all that research for you in seconds. So I think that is really cool. I do think over time, though, they're all going to copy each other. I think Gemini in Google Sheets and Excel Copilot and Claude for Excel and ChatGPT for Excel, they're all going to continue to copy each other. And that's kind of for the better of the spreadsheet development world. I guess they're all going to continue to come up with new ideas and copy each other. But for now, for me, I think that Google Gemini kind of is pretty good at doing those two extra things.
Mm. Yeah, I think, how different are the formulas I don't know how it's worded in Google Sheets, but, in Excel, these are really powerful. Is it the same on Google Sheets?
So good question. When I wrote when I wrote a big blog post comparing the two of them a couple of years ago, my headline figure was that contrary to what everyone believes, Google Sheets actually has more functions than Excel. Not fewer. Google Sheets has more functions than Excel. And yes, probably about 95% of the functions exist in both of the softwares. But the ones that only exist in Excel and don't exist in Google Sheets, I don't really think they're that good. But there are some that only exist in Google Sheets that don't exist in Excel that have some benefits. For example, you've got the query function, which allows you to query a data set and use kind of SQL type code and return outputs inside multiple rows and columns. You've got, yeah, quite a few more like that. Although I will say that Excel has since released some extra functions which which are pretty good that Google Sheets doesn't have yet. So the equals group by and equals pivot by functions were both released in Excel about a year ago, and they allow you to create pivot tables inside spreadsheets through formulas, which are really, really good.
Mm,
Um, Excel also has, for the last year or so, integrated Python into it. So that obviously gives it an edge for people who are into that. And it comes pre-installed with 6 Python libraries. So those formulas are available to people. However, they're not for the faint-hearted. And also, I guess that's not technically Excel functions.
yeah, um, I work in a lot of companies, and they had Excel, and, they use, VBA, or, yeah, Visual Basic for applications, and, yeah, it's feeling like running the whole reporting with this.
Mhm.
How does, I think, Google App Script compared to this?
So VBA is an old programming language. And I think outside of Microsoft Office, it's pretty much deemed to be obsolete. I think that it only exists because it hasn't yet been replaced. It's also got some disadvantages within the Excel infrastructure, being that it really only works well on Excel desktop for Windows. It doesn't work well on Excel for Mac. It works to a limited degree on Excel for Mac, and it doesn't work at all in Excel Online or Excel Mobile. So Excel is actually in the process of, I think, replacing it. They haven't formally said this, but they've launched something called Office Scripts, which does work equally well in Excel Online and Mac, and that is using scripting as well. However, at the moment, it's not quite there. There's a lot of things they cannot do.
Mm,
Google's App Scripts is more capable, I think, at the moment than Excel's VBA,
mhm.
and it is more universally used. It's a type of programming that people are a lot more familiar with if you've learned your programming skills in the last like 10, 20 years or so. Yeah. So that's kind of what I would say.
Um, yeah, I think what also happened actually, it's or in the last years, a lot of companies begin reporting their bring their Excel into Power BI and data warehouses. Is there anything else? I think about, I don't know if it's work. I think Google has Locker Studio or something. Have they also a tool like Power BI?
So yeah, so Google's got Data Studio. It was called Looker Studio. They renamed it now. And that is kind of the competitor of Power BI. I don't think it comes particularly close. I've used Power BI quite extensively. I haven't used that one as extensively, Data Studio, but it is more limited, definitely. And one of the things that Power BI includes is Power Query, which is a component that also exists within Excel. And that is for data cleanup, a really, really good way to automate data cleanup. And that is one of the key reasons why I think Excel does kind of beat out Google Sheets for now. But yeah, but then Google has its benefits as well.
Um, yeah. Um, I when I think also about the future, um, what and especially I'm more the Power BI dude. So,
Mhm.
why did companies, when you can do all with Excel, why did they change to Power BI and bring it into the yeah, into Fabric or their data in some other data warehouse solutions?
Yeah, good question. So this also comes with a bit of a history lesson. Initially, that wasn't the plan, from what I can gather. I've never actually directly spoken to someone at Microsoft about this, but what happened was in 2010, Excel released Power Pivot, which allowed you to create pivot tables based on multiple source tables and write your own custom code using DAX
Mhm.
language.
Mm,
And this was essentially kind of trying to make Excel into a relational database.
mm,
The issue is that they made the licensing confusing and it didn't really pick up. And it was pretty complicated to use. So then
mm,
after that, they released Power Query inside Excel. That was around 2015. And
mm,
that was kind of the next part of the puzzle.
mm,
But at that point, you had Tableau, MicroStrategy, and some other
mm.
application that the real business intelligence people were going for, and they could not be won over by Excel. Those guys hate Excel. Those guys, the ones who have been saying Excel is dead since 1995. And they whenever the coworker outside of the IT department says that they use Excel, they cringe a little bit and they get angry because Excel does not have the same kind of validation. You can't have a proper relational database with it. And so even though Excel did actually create a relational database structure through Power Pivot and Power Query, they wouldn't even they wouldn't even look at it. Then
mm,
Power BI came, and then Power BI, when it first got launched, was Power Query plus Power Pivot minus Excel plus Power View. Power View is something else that got released in Excel 2016 and kind of failed. So it was essentially, for the most part, three or four things that existed already within Excel, and then a couple of other small things. I'll tell you, when I first tried Power BI, it was within its first few months of release, and I had data over time, and I was like, "Oh, I wanna see how I wanna create a column chart month by month." And I look at the column chart, and it goes April, then August, then December, then February, then I'm like, "Oh, well, this isn't what I want. How do I change this?" The answer, you can't. Power BI wasn't able to sort by month, and that was
mm,
such a stupid thing for a long, long time. But then eventually they sorted it within the first year of its release. And then they sorted some other things, and then some other things, and some other things. But Power BI has been around for, I think, 11 or 12 years now. But
mm,
there's still some things where you're like, how do I make this line chart do this thing? That seems pretty obvious, and the answer is you can't. Because they keep releasing new features every month, which is great. And there were definitely times in my life where I would kind of wake up in the middle of the night and see, oh, have they released a new monthly update yet? Because I got so excited about it, and and that was great. But on the other hand, it just kind of points out that there still remain to this day to be holes inside what Power BI can do.
mm,
Um, but yeah, anyway, I'm sidetracking. Going to answering your question, I think it was Microsoft needed to release Power BI because they would never have been able to win over the Tableau, the MicroStrategy, and the other business intelligence experts to look outside of Excel. And so they needed to release this other thing. The reason why Power BI became so popular is because all the people who were Excel people now suddenly became also data business intelligence people.
mm.
Uh, and more so, everyone's already in the Microsoft infrastructure, so it's very easy for Microsoft to kind of take that market share um, away from people because people are already paying for their other features.
Mm. Yeah, I think at the start, I don't know. If I just started Copilot, in Excel, it feels a little bit like, yeah, clippy spec. And
Yeah.
also on Power BI, there was all the time series things are really, really bad, and you have to learn DAX or, yeah, most times you do the, or, yeah, SQL. I think, yeah, it was really, really bad times. But is there anything you say, wow, did this makes it? That's why when you use Excel, you should also start with Power BI.
I think I think in terms of use cases of a software, Excel has 100-fold the use cases of Power BI. Power BI is really only for people that want a very, very sophisticated, robust, automated analytics thing. Whereas Excel, you'll use that to keep a shopping list or to um, have various other things that are simply done. And again, people still will export to Excel from their accounting software, their ERP software, CRM, and all the things like that. Because in Excel, you know what you can do. You can select cells, you can delete what's in them, you can insert rows and columns. All that stuff is super easy to use because it wasn't built to be too robust. That is also why the IT departments often don't like Excel and claim that Excel is dead or should be dead. They want Excel to be dead, but in their mind, everyone else needs to be a database expert for that to work. So it doesn't really hang true in a lot of the cases.
Yeah, uh, I think one argument I hear often is say that, yeah, that's a lot of companies will have yeah, that they have, I don't know, what's the fear of losing the data or the knowledge, uh, when they have it in a, yeah, in a database. So what did you think here? Is it, yeah, is it right or?
Uh, Databases have more robust ways to prevent people deleting data. They have ways of tracking who's done what. Excel and Google Sheets, they both released that feature recently. So now you can go cell by cell and see who's edited and what the history of that cell is. But yeah, I mean, there is the risk of that. You could have people deleting things. It's now less risky because saving any file in the cloud means you have document recovery, you have document history, you can go back through an earlier version and get it. So in that sense, it is less risky than it used to be, but it's still not quite as robust. Same reason why, even though I'm an accountant, I would never advise people to keep an accounting system in a spreadsheet
Mm.
because the accounting software is going to do it better. And it does have an audit log of who's done what changes. And it does prevent people from doing things that will break the software. Whereas Excel, someone could delete a couple of key formulas and it will just break. Excel's not very good at telling you when you are when you are excluding some numbers that you want inserted into a sum formula, things like that. If you Yeah, I created what is similar to a database on Excel for a client this week,
Mm.
and it's not the kind of thing like, if you have a new project, you add that to the project list, and then that addition will flow through to every other possible place where it could go, so that people could then add it to every other place. It's not quite that simple as it would be in a database. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, a little bit about the fun part. Have you well, what was the funniest spreadshirt mistake you ever have seen?
The funniest spreadsheet mistake I've ever seen. Uh, this isn't really a funny spreadsheet mistake. It's just a bit of a nuance. So Excel's date system is pretty interesting. So it stores dates as numbers, as do many databases, so that you can use it in calculations. You could say, how many days is it from today until my birthday? How many days has this invoice been overdue? And then if you go back in time, so right now the number is about 46,000 and something. And the reason why that is because the date number one is the 1st of January 1900. But the thing is, if you go if you go date number 0, that will actually tell you if you type in 0 and transform that to a date, Excel will mark that as the 0th of January 1900, and any date before that, Excel is not able to compute at all. So nothing before 1900. But where it gets even funnier is that Excel actually marks the 1st of January 1900 as a Sunday, but it's not. It was actually a Monday. Now, where did this go wrong? Excel has inherited this issue from Lotus 123, which was the other spreadsheet that came before it. And the issue was that Lotus 123 and now Excel still claims that the 29th of February 1900 existed because 1900 was a leap year. However, that is just not true. February 1900 did not have a leap year, um, because it was one every 100 years is not a leap year ish. And Excel invented this date, which means the day of the week of every date between January and February 1900 is incorrect because of that bug. And they've never fixed it. Google Sheets gets it right, but Excel doesn't still.
Yeah. And what audience can really laugh at Excel jokes?
Uh so yeah, I think it's yeah, some of it is just the mundane stuff of doing silly things in the workplace. Some of it is just that joke of the Excel guy at the office, the Excel person at the office, who's the go-to person whenever you need to launch some things and you have your frustrations. I do a lot of wordplay as well. I enjoy some wordplay. For example, I can tell you one where I talk about how I went to an Excel conference and I learned all about the history of spreadsheets. And the history of spreadsheets is interesting because originally, when it got launched, it was just horizontal rows. And then someone came up with the idea of vertical separators, but these vertical separators, they did not know what name to give them. They didn't know what to call them. So that ended up leading to a dark time that historians today refer to as the columnization of Excel. So yeah, so I've got a mix of everything, and in my show I also talk about kind of a. It's also got an homage to Alan Turing, who's kind of the father of modern computing and AI, the first person to hypothesize AI as well, and of course, solving the Enigma code that ended up cutting the war short by 2 years, according to many historians.
Mm. And would you say there's any any audience you better don't make extra jokes?
Yeah, I think if you're someone who is in a corporate job, if you're a techie, even if it's something you hate that you have to do at work, you can all still laugh about it. Or if you're a mathematician or a scientist or an engineer, an accountant, finance professional, I think all of these people do end up using Excel, even the sales and marketing people and the HR people. And so if you enjoy laughing about something that makes up quite a bit of your life and you never really talk about it or think about it too much, then yeah, it could be something you enjoy.
And what joke can be a good I say door opener for when you talk to Excel people or teach them to train them.
So very good. So I would just say like I find myself that, I've been given the Microsoft MVP awards, and that's really cool. But it means that I get a say in what happens to the next steps of Excel, and I finally feel like I'm a part of the future of spreadsheets. I finally feel like I'm a piece of sheet. And then us after us Excel MVPs, we get invited to a conference once a year
Mm,
at a special place in Seattle.
mm.
It's a very petite yet cozy venue. It's a Microsoft office. Oh, what? People don't think that the Excel conference sounds cool. Well, it's cooler than going to the Incel conference. Well, come to think of it, the clientele is probably not that different, which might explain some of my recent targeted ads. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Um. What when we think about or what is one of the spreadsheet habit everyone should adopt tomorrow from your perspective?
Use tables. People don't know this feature exists. It's in the Insert tab, Insert and Table. As I said earlier, no one would ever look up how to make a table in a spreadsheet. And if you don't know that, then you're missing out on one of the most important tools a spreadsheet can offer because it automates formatting and it automates formula writing and dragging down formulas, and it makes everything auto expand anything that's linked from a pivot table to other formulas to validation lists and things like that. So yes, use tables both in Excel or in Google Sheets. I even think Google Sheets does them better. It's got simpler formulas and it's got this group by feature and simpler naming of the tables as well.
And about the future, will you think spreadsheets will exist still in 10 years?
Yes, spreadsheets will absolutely exist in 10 years. People are going to say Excel is dead in 10 years just as much as they're saying it now. I think that people in office jobs will forever want to have a user interface where they can very quickly type numbers and make manual adjustments very, very easily and create processes and systems. That will evolve
Mm,
because I think AI is becoming a bigger part of it all. And I think that some people are switching certain spreadsheets for AI, but they're also developing AI within spreadsheets is going to be much,
yeah.
much better and give spreadsheets more use cases. Like I think en masse data research is something that's going to be used more and more for spreadsheets. You need to look up like 100 companies really, really fast. That is becoming way easier to do in Excel using AI than any other tool.
Awesome. So, yeah, I have every time a rapid fire round. So I give a short question, and you say first what comes in your mind. So,
Okay.
uh, um, one feature Microsoft should steal from Google,
The multi-select drop-down lists,
and what should Google steal from Microsoft?
Power Query,
Dark mode or light mode?
dark mode,
Excel or Google Sheets?
Excel. Yeah.
Mac or Windows?
Windows,
Keyboard or mouse?
keyboard,
XLOOKUP or index match?
XLOOKUP, definitely.
Uh, pivot tables or Power Query?
Oh, say pivot tables, but also group by functions.
VBA or Office scripts?
VBA,
Uh, Copilot or Gemini?
Gemini.
So thank you for this was a really fast, quick fire round. So yeah,
Mhm.
thank you for staying here with me. My last question is, yeah, where can people find all your stuff online or connect with you? I will also put your yeah, your infos in the show notes. But where can the people find you or connect with you?
So on LinkedIn, my name is David Benaim, same as YouTube. LinkedIn, I have about 12,000. I post very regularly about updates to spreadsheets and other features and new videos and new blogs. On Instagram, I'm the Excel comedian, the underscore Excel underscore comedian. And I'm the only person in the world making stand up into about Excel. And then, yeah, so those are the three places. Yeah.
Yeah. Then yeah, thank you so much. This was a really interesting insights. Especially I never or I don't use this tool so heavily, especially Google Sheets.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for give us a quick overview over all the topics.
No worries. Thank you for inviting me. It's been fun.